Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into a genuinely foundational piece of psychology and strategy, the book, Mistakes Were Made But Not By Me. Now, I want to be super clear right up front. Mistakes Were Made But Not By Me is not exactly a comfort read. We aren't here to just point fingers at foolish people making obvious errors. No, we're using Carol Tavris and Elliot Aronson's brilliant work, Mistakes Were Made But Not By Me, as a sort of structural audit of the human mind. If you've ever wanted to understand why brilliant, highly capable people build incredibly elegant reasons for their worst wrong turns, well, Mistakes Were Made But Not By Me exposes that quiet trap. Carol Tavris and Elliot Aronson don't ask what went wrong, they ask what needed to stay innocent. Let's get into it.
And that brings us right to the core premise of this work. Your life has a load-bearing lie. Not some grand, corrupt conspiracy, a useful one. And here's the thing, you don't protect it because it's false. You protect it because the entire roof rests on it. You see, you aren't stuck right now because you lack evidence or data. You're stuck because your mind has this absolutely incredible ability to take every past mistake and turn it into necessary architecture. It flips the mistake into proof that you were right all along. That wrong wall, it stays up simply because the entire structure of your ego depends on it. Let's just sit with a belief you probably hold right now. You might tell yourself, hey, I follow evidence. When better data appears, I update my views. It sounds so adult, doesn't it? It sounds incredibly disciplined. I really wish this weren't true, but we have to look at where it leads. Because if you really correct course that fast, why do your oldest mistakes have the best explanations? Why do your biggest, most damaging wrong turns have the absolute thickest defenses? The hidden cost of our intelligence is that highly intelligent people actually build the most elegant defenses for their wrong turns. Your intellect literally becomes a legal team, working overtime to defend the route you're already on.
The psychological engine driving all of this is cognitive dissonance. Imagine a choice goes badly. Maybe you ignored a clear warning, or you stayed in a toxic situation way too long. The real pain here isn't just the error itself. It's the unbearable split between your action and your clean self-identity. The mind absolutely hates a split screen. It desperately wants one unified picture. I am fair, I am careful, I make sound choices. To resolve that intense psychological tension, the mind doesn't always change the behavior. Instead, it rewrites the meaning of the behavior. It's exactly why doomsday cults don't just pack up and go home when the world doesn't end. They convince themselves that their prayers actually saved it. The mind protects its identity at all costs.
This creates a pretty brutal forced choice. On the one hand, you can admit the mistake, and your image of your own good judgment takes a deep, deep wound. On the other hand, you can defend the mistake, but then your actual contact with reality takes the wound. Both of these, they feel exactly like losing. Just think about your last defended decision. You know, the one you explained just a little too quickly. What is it really protecting? I'm not exactly sure where this leaves us, but actually, this whole dilemma is completely false. They are both symptoms of the exact same misunderstanding. You're treating yourself, your identity, as if it were this fragile marble statue that completely shatters if it gets a single flaw. But it's not a statue, it's scaffolding. It can be taken down and rebuilt without worshiping the old shape. You absolutely do not have to defend the error just to keep your sense of self intact. Let's watch how this actually builds over time. Think of it as a pyramid of choice. On day one, right at the base of the pyramid, two people stand close together. One small, seemingly insignificant decision separates them. By month 6, that decision needs a reason, and that reason needs a story to justify it. Fast forward to year 5, and that story has hardened into absolute doctrine. Those two people? They are worlds apart now. But the climb up this pyramid didn't feel dramatic at all. It felt entirely reasonable, step by step. That is the trap, right there. Tiny self-justifications harden over time until you find yourself blindly loyal to a version of yourself that was built entirely by drift. As the authors put it so perfectly, your mind does not defend the error, it defends the self that made the error. This captures the core mechanism beautifully. You see, memory isn't some plain security footage that we just press play on. Memory is a process of constant renovation. It actively rebuilds the room every single time you walk into it. It paints over any damage that might threaten your coherence. Think of the police interrogators from the book who coerce false confessions. They genuinely, truly misremember the interrogation to protect their self-image as good, righteous detectives. The story you tell isn't what happened after the mistake. The story actually becomes the second mistake. Which leads us to a pretty fascinating thought experiment. Look at the story you tell about the moment things turned out badly in your life. Who becomes the villain in the story where you made a mistake? Who becomes the careless one, the unreasonable one, the impossible one? I want you to pause right now. Just totally remove the villain from your memory. Without them there to blame, what choice of yours suddenly becomes visible? Usually, the very first clean answer you arrive at is the exact one you've been trying to rush past.
To navigate our way out of this, we use what we call the cracked compass. Imagine a cracked compass resting on a set of incredibly complex blueprints. The compass is damaged, the building plan is complicated, the deadline is very real, and yet, north remains north. The compass still tells the truth, provided you stop polishing the crack and just read the instrumentation. You do not need harsher judgment upon yourself. You just need cleaner instrumentation. The compass doesn't hate you, it just refuses to flatter the route you took.
Because when we don't use clean instrumentation, we end up building a map completely out of self-defense. And let me tell you, a map built from self-defense looks incredibly real. It's detailed, it has labels, arrows, a legend, it even highlights these painful lessons you claim to have learned. But there's a massive catch. Every single road conveniently bends away from personal ownership. The map says things like, "I had no choice," or "they forced my hand." Now, we aren't asking you to fake blame here. What we are asking for is precision. What part of the map was actually yours, and what part became useful to confuse?
Now, we really need to understand the cost of staying reasonable. This kind of private self-justification, it isn't just a personal quirk. It leaks out. One defended error can turn into an entire company policy, or it becomes the rock-solid foundation of a permanent relationship dynamic. There is a precise moment in every wrong choice where the cost stops teaching you and it starts recruiting. You start hiring new reasons. You punish new evidence. You prefer loyal witnesses. You start calling resistance negativity, and you rebrand fear as strategy. Ultimately, the mistake becomes the culture itself.
And this brings us to a second, equally heavy dilemma. Stay loyal to your past self, and your future pays the price. Betray your past self, and your ego pays the price. Again, both feel like a total loss. And because of that, people just choose to drift. Drift feels so much kinder than actually making a hard decision. But make no mistake, drift is still a decision. It just signs your name with a softer pen. That defended mistake is still spending your life and your time every single day.
The resolution here lies in totally reframing how we view time. Your past self and your future self are not enemies. They are just different inspectors looking at the exact same building. One inspector sees exactly why the wall was originally built. The other inspector sees exactly why it absolutely cannot stay. You do not have to hate the past builder. You just need to stop letting them sign future permits. You can change direction without calling your past completely worthless.
So how do we actually do this? How do we build a real structural exit strategy? Well, we have to shift from emotional confession theater to a cold, practical, and repeatable correction ritual. Step 1, stop arguing with the symptom. Step 2, write the claim or the defended decision down in plain words. Step 3, find just one fact that would make that claim weaker. Step 4, make one repair that costs you comfort. This specific sequence turns honesty from a fleeting emotion into a highly reliable tool, a tool that outlives whatever mood you happen to be in.
The ultimate takeaway from all of this is simple, but incredibly profound. Stop defending, start diagnosing, because the explanation you trust the most may actually be the chain holding you back. Continue the internal transformation at upgowise.com. But right now, I have a challenge for you. Before anything else tomorrow, you will write down one defended decision, list the evidence against it, and tell one trusted person what would change your mind. If you don't, you've chosen to stay exactly where you are.